Time is precious, and so are our pets. So time with our pets is extra precious. That's why we started Dutch. Dutch provides 24/7 access to licensed vets, with unlimited virtual visits and follow-ups for up to 5 pets. You can message a vet at any time and schedule a video visit the same day. Our vets can even prescribe medication for many ailments, and shipping is always free. With Dutch, you'll get more time with your pets and year-round peace of mind when it comes to their vet care.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Keeping It Real on Purpose, and this is our special segment called Real Talk with life coaches. And today we're going to talk about grief with our special guest, none other than Danielle Booher. I am so sorry. Please forgive me. Okay, Danielle Booher. She is, let me get her description now so I don't mess her up. Danielle Booher is a grief coach, a speaker, and an author who helps others heal through perseverance and forgiveness. After witnessing her brother's suicide via telephone, she embarked on a powerful forgiveness journey, becoming a life coach and writing a book in his honor. Drawing from her experiences with trauma, teen motherhood, homelessness, narcissistic abuse, and child loss, Danielle inspires others to find strength, healing, and purpose beyond their pain. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Well, I am so glad that you're here. How do you show up in the world?
I think that's a great question. And my answer is different than it used to be, but authentic now. So I show up in the world authentically me. And I wasn't that before. So it's awesome to say that.
Yeah. And I get this all the time because I speak about this in everything, authenticity. And I can't express to people how gripping authenticity is. And I know that they say it's overused, but it's not used enough. Just like Dr. Phil says, common sense is not common. So authenticity, talk about your authenticity, talk about discovering that.
Yeah. So I can go into more of why later, but I kind of at one point was just like skating through life, kind of in like two different worlds. And on the outside, I looked like I was okay. On the inside, not okay. And I was a single mom. I'm a single mom again, but different children. So I had kids young, 18 and 20.
Okay.
And so now, years later, I've been through a lot. We'll talk about that. But becoming authentic was like, who in the world am I? What do I want? What do
Absolutely.
I? So when I was turning 40 that year, and now I'm turning 43 this year. So I had he's my ex now, but he was very supportive, and he said, like, I said, I want to be an actress. I want to do this. And he's like, go ahead, try it. And I'm a nurse. So, I don't have a lot of time to do other things per se, but year before that, I started like doing some background acting. And then I did, that year I started stand-up comedy. And then I started, my podcast, and then I became a life coach, and then I wrote the book. So like all in 1 year, I was like, bah, 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 bah. And then I figured out like things that I love, like who I am. I'm not ashamed of who I am. I'm a lot, right? So I'm very I talk to my patients a lot. People sometimes like make smarky comments about it and all this stuff. But I love my patients. Yes, I could be a little bit faster sometimes with time management, but they have a really good connection with me for the most part, and people really appreciate it at the end of the day. So
that's great.
I started to be more confident, to love myself. I do positive affirmations. And so I figured out like, who am I? What do I want? And I really love myself. And the longest time I would have never really said that. So.
And it takes a lot for you to get like that. And I'm going to tell you how I became authentic is I had to go back and do a lot of inner work and a lot of childhood work and a lot of shadow work, only to find out that brave little girl at 5 should have been around. The one that talked junk all day, wasn't afraid to jump out of a tree,
Yeah.
wasn't afraid to jump off a roof, wasn't afraid to tell the truth. That's who we really are, is that 5-year-old kid that was like, okay, if you asked them if they had an ugly dress on, right? How's this dress look on me? They would tell you, oh, it's ugly,
Right.
right? Right? We just know how to do a little bit more diplomatic now. So authenticity isn't applied enough. And I'm so glad that you grasped it. It's so important.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about, I know that you're a grief coach, and I like that this is being captured, and it's very important. Talk about how you got to that point and how it was introduced, and maybe even talk about your brother and how that played a great part in that.
Yeah. So, as you mentioned, that I have experienced grief in a lot of ways. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so and lots of people don't understand that grief is just like not only somebody passing away.
Right,
Um,
exactly.
it could be a pet, or say you have to rehome your pet and you had them for 10 years and you can't take them with you. That's also grief.
Yep.
Divorce. I had a blended family and I left the state, and then my son that I raised for 7 years, they stopped letting me see him and stuff like that. So that was a grieving process. And
Yes.
so there's a lot, but I lost a baby stillborn and just all kinds of stuff. But my real grieving that I didn't even know that could be that deep was when I witnessed my brother commit suicide on the telephone, and
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just shut down. I went from the most extroverted person in the world to literally just like so monotone. And I was in nursing school at the time, and I was a single mom, so I was working 2 jobs, going to my prerequisites, and taking care of 2 kids by myself. And so I was, who knows where I was or when I was like, oh, I'm so confused.
He was on
But
autopilot.
yeah, I was. And so when he passed away, I wanted to drop out of school, but I got accepted, which was such a blessing. A lot of people didn't get accepted on their first time to nursing school, but I did. And so he passed away in July, and I got accepted into the night program in September. And
Okay.
so I had to really debate like, am I going to do this? Can I do it? And so
Mm-hmm.
that was a journey in itself. The psych rotation and clinicals was really hard for me because he had just passed away. And now I'm helping people that may want to commit suicide or doing all these things. And so at the time I did well, but then later on I would cry and just break down. I was triggered by a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And so years and years and years later, I ended up, then I started dating someone, then he moved in with his son, which I just mentioned. He was 4 at the time. And so I kind of started over with a 4-year-old, which was also a blessing because my boys were a little bit older. And so with the 4-year-old, he was still kind of toddlerish. So I had to do things with him, and it kind of snapped me out of it a little bit. But then I was still going to school, then planning a wedding. Then we ended up getting separated. I moved to Georgia, which is where I am now. And it I didn't realize that I wasn't healed because I just kept going. I always kept going. When I lost the baby, I literally returned to work early. I had to get a blood transfusion. I almost died. I was bleeding out.
Right. Yeah, of course.
And so I just kept going. And so that was my thing. But I when I moved to Georgia, like I said, I started dating this guy. And so I wanted, I started thinking about things that I liked or wanted to do that I just didn't do because I put them on the back burner. Then I was raising 4 kids because I have a daughter now. And so I went through a forgiveness journey and became certified as a life coach after, like I said, I started doing comedy and then became the podcast. And at first I never talked about how my brother passed away. I didn't really speak about it. And it was because that word, or suicide, and the topic is very much like pushed under the rug, but it really happened. And so when I went to church in Ohio, I wasn't allowed to talk about it. And so finally I got to the point where I was like, no, I want to help people. So that's kind of how everything happened. And I got certified. And then at one point I said, I might change my my niche for coaching, because my book is for children. It does not talk about the suicide at all. It actually talks about, it's a character, it's a fiction, because my brother didn't get help. So this character gets help. He has severe OCD. So I thought, well, maybe I'll help, because my second son has a lot of diagnosis and I went through a lot with him. Maybe I'll help parents and kids. Well, then people will come up to me literally in the store, anywhere, in the laundromat, wherever I'm at, and we will talk about people that they lost. And it's like, it was like I was meant to do it. It's a really tough topic to talk about. And so I'm very grateful that people even open up to me and they're vulnerable with me and they trust me. So I feel like I was called to do that. I also do help with trauma as well, but I feel like I was called to do it. And so I'm very grateful that I'm able to, because it's really important, and we all experience grief at some time in our lives.
Right. So let's unpack, because you packed everything in and I didn't want you to. I want you to tell a piece at a time. So I want to take apart, that's something you said very importantly, because it's part of grieving and we all don't know that we do it. And it is being on autopilot. That's a symptom of grief. Let's talk about that, because it's important that you said it, because as you were talking, you were on autopilot. But let's talk about being on autopilot in grief.
Yeah. So basically, when you're grieving, you might not know where to start or what to do, and you just try to continue life. If we lose someone, essentially, especially if they're your spouse or your child, you have to figure out what the new normal, like what's your new routine? What are you going to do? And so a lot of times you just kind of skate through life, and it's like literally like on autopilot. Like every day is like monotonous, just like kind of the same thing. You don't have maybe not as much joy as you used to. You're just kind of getting by. You're like just surviving, but not thriving. And so that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah. I know when people experience, when they're on autopilot, and I've seen this with some of my clients and friends, they become emotionally numb and they detach. So it's like they're walking around almost in a zombie-ish, like I'm here, but I'm not here kind of, I guess, effect. And their daily routines, they do like you said, they do them all day. They're engaged, fully engaged. They get things done, but they're overwhelmed. And I think autopilot is a way to protect them when they're overwhelmed in pain. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would say too. It's kind of not the same thing as denial, but kind of just like just going by, because my first thing back then was denial. Even when I was losing the baby, was denial. And like it was like, whoop, everything's fine. No, not everything is not fine, And so that's the thing. When you're on autopilot, it's like you don't go anywhere towards the healing, because you're kind of just like at this stagnant like state, Right. And so it's a lot. I've been there.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I could tell you that I experienced it after my brother had passed away.
Oh,
and he passed away on his graduation party.
Oh.
And it was a swimming accident. Someone pushed him in, and no one knew how to swim at this. I don't know why that even was a thing for them to be at a pool party. Nobody knew how to swim, and there was no lifeguard there. But I was so upset, because we were best friends, and we were like best friends. And I just knew that he was gone. Before we got there, I was like, he's not here. I feel it. And it just disturbed me. But I was one of these grievers that was out loud. Everything was loud. I was breaking things. I was screaming. I was just out there. I was just, and I think not that I like it better, but when I was depressed about when I was at work and I was becoming burnt out, because is almost, you get into that depressive state, right? You get into that, and you get into that mode. It's like you're lost, you're gone, because once you become burnt out, right, you're gone. So it's like a grief almost, correct? So I didn't know that I was always getting headaches, right? I forget stuff all the time. I will forget everything. Like what the heck? I'm driving. Like, where am I going? I felt disconnected. I was always tired, sleeping all the time. And I, like you said, it was survival mode. I was trying to survive by just shutting out everything.
Yeah, I exactly. So if I didn't have kids, I don't know what would have happened. But
Yes.
I had to keep going for them. And that's why I ended up going to nursing school.
Right.
Thank goodness, because I have been a nurse for 11 years now, and it is such a beautiful thing. And I'm so glad I get to help so many people. But I almost wasn't there. I tried to drop out of school 3 times during nursing school. And once was the week before.
We all want to feel our best, but let's be real. Some wellness trends are hard to stick with. Taking shots of apple cider vinegar, yuck, no thanks. Swallowing giant vitamins, not for me. Goldie Nutrition is wellness made easy and delicious with their chewable gummies. From apple cider vinegar for digestive support to ashwagandha for stress relief. Goldie's gummies fit effortlessly into your routine. They're made with high-quality ingredients. They taste amazing and are packed with essential B vitamins to help you feel your best every day. So head on over to Goldie now and get America's #1 ashwagandha and apple cider vinegar gummies at an exclusive 42% off. Give them a try, risk-free, and they're backed by our money guarantee. Because wellness should be simple, effective, and delicious. Don't wait. Visit Goli.com, GOLI.com. Let me tell you about the online cannabis that's revolutionizing how we deal with life challenges, from sleepless nights to stress-filled days. Mood.com has created an entire line of functional gummies that target specific health concerns. With 100% federally legal THC blends, they'll deliver them discreetly right to your doorstep. And you get 20% off your first order at Mood.com with promo code 23. I've tried a bunch of their gummies myself, and it's wild how different each one feels. The Sleepy Time gummies knocks me out in 15 minutes flat. No hangovers, no grogginess, and I wake up feeling amazing. And the Epic Euphoria gummies, they're perfect for those days when nothing's going right and you just need to hit that reset button on your crappy mood. What makes these different is how they paired THC and other cannabinoids with herbs and adaptogens. You're just not going to find gummies like this in any dispensary anywhere, no matter what. And they have gummies for literally everything: immune support, menopause relief, PMS symptoms, mental clarity, sexual arousal, and each one is crafted using federally legal cannabis grown on small family-owned American farms. No pesticides, no BS, and they can ship to most states in the U.S. Best of all, not only does Mood stand behind everything with an industry-leading 100-day satisfaction guarantee, but as I mentioned, listeners get 20% off their first order with the code 23. So head on over to Mood.com, browse their amazing selections of functional gummies, and find the perfect gummy for whatever you're dealing with. And remember to use promo code 23 at the checkout to save 20% of your first order.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Like, no, not even a week before. I think the week of my graduation, I tried to drop out, and they're like, no.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense now.
Right. And I was like, I can't. They're like,
yes, but it was depression. It was depression that just didn't make any sense. You were thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
Your brain was not there. It was just like, it was there in a sense, but I want to say the mind, the mind wasn't there. Yeah. It's very, grief is very intricate. Like I said, I was one of those ones that grieved out loud. When my brother passed, I was tearing up things but I was emotional every day. I was crying every day. It was like, I was crying every day. Song would come on, that guy, Yeah. And, I was younger. I'm 3 years older than he. However, that was my best friend. I think I was mad at God. I was mad at everybody. I was mad at my mother. I was like, Mom, why didn't you beat these people up? I'm like, beat them up or something. I was mad at everybody, just everybody. And I think that what you said about grief, autopilot, even in my anger, I still was functioning at work. But the thing I was doing at work, I was quiet as a mouse. Yeah. I remember it now. I'm thinking about it. I wouldn't socialize with anybody. I'd be in my own head. Grief has a little bit of intricacy into it. It's very intricate, and I think we go about life not realizing it, especially if we're grieving. We could grieve a job, we could grieve a job. We could, like you said, a pet or something,
Yeah. Absolutely. That's happened a lot. I mean, look at COVID or different times like that. Say Hurricane Katrina in that area.
Yes.
Look at everybody losing their businesses, losing their homes. Yes. They give the goosebumps because it's something that's grieving.
Absolutely.
Or the fires in LA, you lose your whole belongings, everything.
Absolutely.
Pictures, all these things. And it's you can't get those back.
No.
And it's a blessing that you're alive. Yes.
But you can't see it because of that, what's going on, right? You can't see it, right?
Right. So there's so many things that happen when we grieve, and everybody is not the same. No. Some people may never go through denial. Some people may never get angry. Some people may, and it's just different. And so, but something you talked about was when you're mad. So my thing is that I teach, not that I made this up, because it sounds like I did not make up.
No, it didn't sound like that. It did not sound like that.
But my main thing, step one, that I go through with clients is forgiveness. Yeah. And so, like you said, you just get you're just like, what? Why didn't you stop? What happened? Yeah. And
you start blaming. You start blaming. Mm-hmm.
And so with me, I had to forgive myself. Self-forgiveness is one of the hardest ones. Because,
it's the most overlooked. It's the most overlooked too,
right.
as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. So, when I was a young mom, I made mistakes. I have to forgive myself for that. That's
right. It's true. Yes.
And so, But with like my brother, my mom called me on the phone to stop him or to calm him down. And so I thought in my mind, my job was to save my brother.
Right.
No, it's not. It's not my job to save my brother. So when I forgave myself,
oh, that's good.
So much weight got lifted off, and I was like, oh, now
That's
I can
so
heal.
good.
I couldn't heal until that, and I got goosebumps again because
that's good.
I was so stuck, and I help people get unstuck. But I was so stuck, like you said, autopilot, all that stuff, and didn't even realize because I was just going through life that I was all these things were bothering me.
Yeah.
And I like you said, migraines, stroke symptoms, all this stuff, was having all these things. And
never realized it, right? Did you realize it? Did you like even like
no,
it didn't even click for me? Didn't even click.
Not at all. And so with forgiveness, when you forgive somebody else, it's for you to gain back control. It is not for them.
Oh, that's good too. That's really good. Gain control. That's really good.
That's one thing. Yes. So you don't forget what happened. You forgive it for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you hopefully will not allow that situation, person, whatever, to evoke emotion in you. For you, they control you. So say, for instance, I'm mad at Stacy. And every time I get to work and Stacy's there, I'm like, ugh, and I get upset. I might not do my job. I'm not doing my job correctly. I'm thinking about all day. Oh, Stacy, did Stacy drink my creamer? I don't even drink coffee. I'm not allowed. But Stacy drank my creamer, and this is that, and I'm mad at Stacy. Stacy don't give a hoot nanny. She's doing her thing. You are being controlled by the emotion that you are feeling attached to that person, right?
Right.
If you forgive, and there's a lot of things that I say, dump out in your brain. You might not even know who you want to forgive. You
exactly. It could be something that's associated with that Stacy's doing from the past that somebody else did. Right. Yeah.
So you have to. I want people to write it down.
Yes.
That's good. What it is in your brain. What does it make you feel? Okay, well, when I see Stacy, especially if she's drinking creamer, that made me. This is all made up, by the way. I'm all making it up. I'm not
drink that creamer, Stacy. Drink it.
But when I see Stacy, I might get red. My heart might race. I might clench my fist. I might squint my eyebrows. Right. So all those things are evoking physical symptoms or or emotions. So
absolutely. Yeah.
So identifying those, which is my second step, is identifying triggers, is helpful because then you can nip them in the bud to the point where, again, you're in control. So I did not know that anything that sounded like a gun for the longest time would freak me out. I would duck down. I would cry. I would shake. It would take me hours. Like hours. If I watched a movie and I didn't know somebody was going to die in it, especially a certain way, I was done for 1-2 hours. I would be so upset. And so now I can watch something, not that I choose to, I don't like those kind of movies, but I can watch something and somebody can die in the movie. And this one time, it wasn't even that long ago, maybe 8 months ago. And I laughed and said, that looks so fake. And now it's like, I know that it's not my brother. Nothing's happening to anybody.
You changed the narrative around it. You changed. Yes. Got it. Yeah.
You have to shift your mindset and look at stuff differently. And it's harder with some situations. Okay. I was in domestic abuse relationships. Okay. It is harder for me to forgive a narcissist than it is just Stacy, right? Because that's different. So I also have a kid with the person, and I am going to go see one of the people that abused me. He's going to be in the same place as me in April, and I haven't seen him in years. And so my forgiveness is going to be so tested that day.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
And so, but I've seen him before. Right. It's been years, but we're going to actually be in a birthday party for our grandchild together. Right. So I am going to be tested the whole time, and I'm in control of how I react.
Right.
And
Right.
that's what I
Right.
go to with people.
Okay.
So
Great.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So I like that you said control. I like that you gain control back. That's really, really important. The one you said prior to that was that it wasn't your responsibility, and I think we don't realize that because you just brought this to my attention. When my brother died, we had made a pact to take care of each other. It was,
Oh,
and then when, you know, in my family, I was a second mom because my mom was always troubled with
me
my
too.
stepdad and situations with them, and I became their protector. So I took it hard. I took it really, really hard. Like I was supposed to be there with him, and he got, in my head, I'm saying, he got out of my sight one time, and this what happens, And that's so important to know that, they're not your responsibility. They're, God's, if anybody's, you know what I'm saying? But really, they're not, it's especially at a certain age. Let me just say that. I don't want to say children. Children are, you train them up. That's your responsibility.
Yeah.
But when they're older, you're not responsible for saving everybody. You can't save everybody. And the second thing you said is control. Oh my God, you gain more control because when you don't forgive, I was out of control, man. I wasn't forgiving anybody. Everybody had to pay. Everybody had to pay. Every time I saw somebody from that party, it was like blasting them. I'm blasting them. Everybody had to pay. But I didn't have control, and not until I did, sit down and like really, I guess I was talking to him at his gravesite, and I said, I have to let this go. It's eating me up. And it gave me this resting bitch face that was like, don't you mess with me. Like, it was like, and I was walking around like that for ages, like, for years. And everybody's like, why do you look so mean? I'm like, and in my head, because I'm in my head, I'm not even looking at them because I'm still thinking about this. And I had to realize, man, this face is really serious. This is a problem. It's a whole problem. But gaining control back, ladies and gentlemen, that is so good. Those two pieces there, diamonds. So I want to talk about what you said about your life, about you divorcing. Let's talk about in the spectrum of grief. Was there a time when you were divorcing that you had grief about who you thought he could be, or that you grieved about it in any way, in any form?
Yeah. So my situation was kind of weird, but I'll keep it brief. So I don't want to put his business out on the street, but
that's fine.
The last couple of years, we were no good together. Okay.
Right.
We would switch back and forth. Like we would live together. We were married. We tried to go to counseling. It just did not work.
Right.
And so for that part at that beginning, yes. But by the time I was leaving,
right.
The grief was more about my son, my dog that we adopted together, my house.
Right. Okay.
And my businesses. I lost my businesses. I had to start all over. I left with 3 kids because unfortunately I couldn't take him because it was illegal because I didn't adopt him. But I left with 3 kids. I went to the same church for years. So I left my church, my 2 businesses, my hospital I was at for 2 years. I lived there for 11 and a half years, but not in the same house. But that house, they denied us that house. And I had to write a letter to the bank to get that house. I worked so hard for all those things. That's what I grieved over, was like the kid that he's on my back. All 4 of my kids are tattooed in a heart on my back. But like, that's the hard part, was like my life got flipped upside down. And it wasn't even about him anymore, because I was kind of over that at this point, just because it had been 2 years of us trying to make it work. And, but it was like the area that had been in, all my friends, like everything, my family was there. Only my mom was in Georgia. So I didn't get to see my dad anymore. I used to see my dad twice a year. He was in Maryland and he would come. I didn't get to see him anymore. Like, it's just like so many things happened. I had to pay back a person for their wedding because I was supposed to photograph their wedding, but I had to pay it back. So it was
So a lot of grief was going on. A lot of grief.
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, I didn't even realize that. Now it's see how it's just coming together. Yeah, I understand it even more now. So now we're wrapping it up kind of now, audience. To my guest, what's one small compassionate action that maybe someone in the audience is that they should acknowledge grief and begin the process of healing? What's one small thing that they can do?
Wow, they can do a lot of things. One thing, like we just said, forgiveness. You can listen, be there, ask for help. Important. That's one small thing you can do is not be alone. Don't suffer in silence. Please ask for help. Reach out to people. You're loved and you're worthy and you're so important. So please just ask, even if somebody comes and sits with you and you don't even say a word, at least reach out to someone.
Right. That's good. Okay. All right, Danielle, how can we locate you, my audience, locate you around the internet?
Okay. So if you look me up, you Google me, you will find all the things. But Danielle Booher, but my Danielle Booher 82 is my Instagram. I can't get into it right now, but I have a lot of Instagrams. Authentic Coaching, that's my coaching one. But if you look me up on Facebook, which is K Danielle Booher Stroman, all the names, then you will find the links to all of my things. That's the easiest way to say it. You'll find the link to everything.
Awesome. And what's the name of your book so we can look for it?
It's called Inside CJ's Mind.
Wow. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we really thank you for being here today with us and enjoying and learning about grief. And I want to thank my esteemed guest, Danielle Booher, for being here today on Keeping It Real on Purpose. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time around.
Thank you.
Bye for now.